Hello, I'm Kathy Gore Chappell, Executive Director for Baptist Women in Ministry of North Carolina. What are you doing for Advent during this time of continued adjustment or pivoting in the pandemic? We look for resources to help us provide opportunities for our churches, for the congregations, for ourselves. And today we are very fortunate to have Reverend Mary Elizabeth Hachney, who is a graduate of Duke Divinity School and serves, and I'm going to let you tell it because I think I mess up the title every time, but she was ordained at Watt Street in Durham and now serves a UCC church in Chapel Hill. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And Mary Elizabeth has a wonderful resource. In fact, when I posted this event on Facebook, Elizabeth Edwards, who is associate minister at Lakeside in Rocky Mount, actually wrote a testimony saying she used this last year and it was fabulous. So we have gotten good reviews from people really that used your curriculum, that ordered, I think, the individual copies or whatever, but really had good experiences with this. So that's exciting when we get a review like that immediately. But Mary Elizabeth, welcome. We are eager to hear what you have to say and share with us. And please introduce yourself and then let's get going.
Thanks, Kathy. I'm Mary Elizabeth Hachney. I've probably been in spaces with all of y'all at Passport or CBF or BWIM or various places in Greensboro or Atlanta or Dallas. And I'm glad to see you. Thanks for having me here in this space today. As Kathy said, I was ordained at Watt Street and I consider myself a Baptist woman in ministry, but I'm currently hanging out at a UCC church because that's who hired me. And so I live in Durham. My kids actually still go to Watt Street. And so my kids and youth are, Esther sees them more than I do, probably, at least more at church. I did want to talk to you all about Advent, and some of what I wanted to do was just to let you all talk about what is important to you about Advent, why it's important for you to have resources for your church, for like what you're thinking about, what you run into that was problematic in the past, what you're hopeful about. But I wonder if it would be the most helpful for me to start by sort of telling you what I've been thinking about and showing you some of what I have, or if you'd rather talk amongst yourselves first. What feels the most helpful to you?
Why don't you do an introduction of the
Okay.
material, the curriculum, the resource?
Yeah, I would love to do that. And I will, Kathy, can you make it so I can share my screen? So you have to make me like a co-host. I don't know what you're saying.
Sorry, I will make you a co-host. Yes, I will.
While she's doing that, I'm going to tell you a couple things. Last year, my friend and I decided that it was the year to do the Advent project that we had been talking about for many years. And so we wanted to create something that was beautiful artistically, that was simple, but that used really powerful words and was something that, like godly play, you can cycle, like adults could read it on a level that was a lot deeper than kids, but everyone could read it together. And so we really also had some things in mind about why we wanted to do an Advent curriculum and what we weren't seeing in other spaces. We just kept getting Advent resources where Jesus was white or was awfully light-skinned, where there was just a lot of masculine language and just a lot of masculine language for God and sort of unnecessarily just like to describe people or, and that talked a lot about just waiting for a baby. Like that was the theme, like of all these children's things is waiting for a baby or like, let's be excited about a baby. And that can be something, another part of my work in the world is working on fertility grief. And that's just not a good way to talk about Christmas, about Advent, because we're waiting for something very different. We're waiting for the inbreaking of God into this world. And so Carly and I committed to doing, we hope, we think we committed to doing 3 cycles for year A, year B, and year C of the Common Lectionary. And we create a curriculum that is based on the Revised Common Lectionary in some capacity, but that also tweaks. It uses the general themes that churches usually use, but we tweak them with themes that are a little bit more justice oriented, that can relate, but that can also be deeper. And so last year's and this year's, every week there's a tie into one of the scriptures that is from the lectionary. We're also really interested, though, in the new woman's lectionary that is coming out from Will Gaffney. And in fact, in my church, United Church, is using that new lectionary this year. So my resources don't even track with what United Church is doing. So we're going to think about that and how all that fits together. I would like to show you the resources that we have for this year.
And you are co-host now.
And I'm gonna, that sharing screens never works perfectly the first time. So let's see how this is gonna work. Oh, I had it all set up for you. And now it's on a different screen. Okay, I think this is gonna work. Okay, and I'm gonna put it on the presentation mode. I can always find the presentation mode except when I need it. Someone tell me how. Oh, it's over here, isn't it? Yep. Okay. So this is the first, ooh, it's getting ahead of me. This is the first week. And it's a card. You can order these resources from us and we can print them. We get them printed at Speedy Q in Durham, which is a locally owned store that we like to support, but you can also buy them from us digitally. And so we can talk about that later, but each card has 2 sides. And so there's artwork that matches the theme. And so you can see that the theme is persist and persist in hope. And this is the artwork that goes with it. Each week has a real similar format so that we have provided a candle lighting litany, and this can be used in your church service. If you would like to buy this resource and provide a copy to all of your families in the church or all of the families in the children's program, and they can have at home the same thing that is happening in the church service, you can use this in the church service. Alternatively, this can be what they use at home. And so when we first started working on this last year, like everything was shut down for COVID. We were working on it throughout the summer and we could just see it coming that like nothing was going to happen all winter. And last year we provided entire boxes that included a creche and the Advent candles. And I loved doing that. I loved providing the whole kit, but it was difficult. And with this year, with the shipping and the post office and the prices, we knew that we probably needed to just focus on the paper resources. But a family can, at their house, do this candle lighting litany on a Sunday, or you can do it in church. And then the hope is that they would do it every day when they light their Advent candles at dinner. They might skip that. They might just do that on Sunday, but use this daily prayer and this daily scripture every night when they light the candle. So you'll see that over here on the left is the scripture that we draw from, and it's usually a little bit longer set than the daily scripture, which is something that we think people could memorize, or if they say it every day of the week, they might memorize it or might know it well. And I want to give kids stuff that they can be familiar with and that they can have in their hearts. So this daily scripture, if they say it every day and they say the daily prayer every day, they will have something that they've sort of internalized. And you'll see that the themes are, the first theme is persist. And the artwork is that my friend Carly does is just gorgeous. And there are questions that we ask about the artwork. Now, I want you to know that Carly has put rainbow, a sense of a rainbow into almost every piece of the artwork. And that is out of her commitment and our commitment to being queer affirming. And that's a question that we always ask is, why do you think it was important to the artist to put that rainbow in? Depending on your people and your congregation, you know, they may have nothing to say about why they think there's a rainbow in the artwork. But that is something that is important to us and that you'll see in a lot of the artwork. I will show you the next. So the first theme was persist with hope. The second theme is prepare with peace. And you'll see it's the same structure. There's a candle lighting litany, daily prayer, daily scripture verse, a longer scripture reference. And it always has these questions for going deeper that families can talk about around the table. One of the things that I want you to know is that last year, and Esther will remember this, our candle lighting litany said a lot of, we light this candle to remember this. We light this candle to remember that. And I decided this year to take out the word remember and to use the strong word. Like, we light this candle as we persist, as we prepare. And that was an important move away from just the remembering, which is important. Remembering God's story is important, but to claiming these stronger words. Another thing that you'll see is that we made a really big effort to use gender neutral and creative and imaginative descriptions of God. We did that last year, but last year we still left in like the word Lord or other words that are used a lot. And this year we made an even bigger effort to take out any words that have gendered connotations like Lord would. And so you will see descriptions of God like God who equips us that tie into the things we're talking about. This is the artwork. You would obviously turn it on the side. I don't think I can do that at this moment. For prepare. And you'll see that there's questions about this oil lamp and what that has to do with preparing. The third week is joy, and rejoice is the strong word that we chose. You'll see again, we have another word for God here, encourager. When I use my mouse and there's a dot, can you see that? Or am I just like,
yes,
circling the word? Okay, I thought maybe I was just making random circles on my screen that you couldn't see. And so you'll see that again, the litany is keyed to the theme and uses a little bit different words. Both of these scriptures were so on point that I actually couldn't pick, and I just threw them both at you. But the Zephaniah is the scripture that we have for the daily reading. And you'll see that the questions lean into the God turning our shame to joy. This is the picture that Carly created for that. And she had a lot of beautiful things to say about the joy of coming near to the holy and the human hand and the God hand and the gold that passes between them. I wonder what your people will think about when you talk about turning shame into joy and what sort of comes from that picture.
Well, just at you saying it then, it made me feel very hopeful.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, Kate.
Yeah, really. Shame into joy.
the week 4 is traditionally love, and we have proclaim. And so then there's some work on proclaiming love. I love, you can see that again, this structure is very much the same, is very similar. But we talk a little bit about the blessed are you. And I hope you love this picture. It's one of my favorites that she did. Oh no, it's backwards. Okay. This is demonstrates our commitment to having representations of the Holy Family and people as people of color. Oh my goodness, I see a typo here, and this may have already gone to print. I wonder what each one is. I wonder what that's supposed to be.
Thinking.
I think you're right, and I'd kind of like to just email my people and tell them not to print it, if you don't mind. Hold on one second.
Cool.
Because that would be a pretty big mistake.
Hold the presses.
I know. I mean, many people have looked at this. Let's see. Where's my sent mail? Sent mail. Oh, I can't find it. I'll have to do it after this meeting. This is light. This is Christmas Eve. And I love the work that she did with that too. And she asked questions about light coming through a stained glass window. But I also want to show you the Advent calendar that comes with it. I have to like back out. So let me stop sharing for just a second. They're not all in the same file because it's a different shape. That's how Canva works. Oh, why is it going to fight with me? This Advent calendar is so beautiful, and I really want you to see it. All right. I'm going to share my screen again. And put this on my present mode. Carly has provided a whole lot of questions about this Advent calendar that when I read her questions, I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't even notice all of those things. One of the things you'll notice is that there's a doula here helping to deliver the baby. She talks, this is a special flower that's like the Rose of Palestine. There's just a lot of special things like that she has put into the artwork. And so we send this calendar along with stickers, little star stickers, so that they can put a star on each day heading up towards Christmas Eve. We also provide a script, and you may use it, you may not use it, that is for the telling of the Christmas story, and people can use it with their families sitting around on Christmas Eve. Just a telling. It's basically from the scripture, but it weaves it together, and it relies on the theme, so it's a little bit different every year. So those are the resources that we provide together as a packet, and we do provide them in print or in digital resources. And I also wanted you to know that on my Facebook page, on my not my personal Facebook page, but I have a Facebook page that's like Mary Elizabeth Hachney, author, pastor, or pastor author. There are videos that talk a little bit about different things that have to do with this project and why we're doing it. And it talks about using bold language. There's one that talks about the gendered language. There's one that talks about, why we're doing this now. And those are things that you can look at. There are things that you can share, and they always have a reference at the end to how you can order it. And you can order it on our Etsy page because that allows us to let you print it digitally, in order to help us track the shipping. So those are the things I wanted to tell you about it. I would love to answer questions. I would love to hear you say, that's cool, but listen, next year, can you think about doing this instead? Or, this is something that would be really helpful to us. When we ship them to you, we have it all together in one set, and we can provide you an envelope that you can give to each family with the stickers in it and all those pieces of paper. Or if you want to do it differently, we can ship it to you differently without all the envelopes. And of course, you can get them digitally too. So tell me
What did the sets, do they come like 12 to a packet or just come individually?
They're priced to order one, and then there's some price breaks up. And I don't have those numbers in front of me, but for instance, if a church orders like over 100, we can give you a price break because we can get a break from the printer itself.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, we're using this local printer, and we pay them we pay them their prices. And then if they give us a price break, we can give you a price break.
Well, and what I would love to do is if you provide me, and I know you say it's on your Facebook page, but if you could email me or message me with the link and then I can post that. I'll follow it. I'll send it to all of you, but then I will post it on our social media as well, so that people can see where and how to order.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Can you get that to me by Monday?
I mean, I can get it to you. I could do it now if I were multitasking, or as soon as we hang up.
Do it after this. You don't have to multitask right now. That'd be good. So I'll follow up with each of you that's on the call by sending that. And then, and the digital, when people buy the digital, does that mean they have permission to make copies?
It does. We have a price we ask, and I actually have tried to figure out Etsy, and I don't know if we can actually control this, or if we trust people, because you definitely can't control making copies. We ask that it's this price for one, and then at this price, we allow you to make 50 copies, and at this price, we allow you to make 200 copies, or unlimited copies. And we also want to talk to you if you are interested in using the artwork in your digital worship. You have to have permission from Carly, and there's a fee for that, or if you want to use it on your bulletins. So the church where I work is actually going to purchase the picture of Mary and Elizabeth to use on their bulletins. And I'm just having them purchase it right from Carly because I didn't want to be an intermediary on that. But we are able to, Carly is willing to sell you a digital permission or a print that you can use for your bulletins or for your online services.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, the one of Mary and Elizabeth.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, it really is. Two pregnant women.
That's right.
That we've always not seen that bump in an artwork or something.
That's right.
And the skin color, and yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say that I appreciate you going through it with us this year, Mary Elizabeth and Kathy. I appreciate you asking her. Our church last year, of course, we have this connection with Mary Elizabeth, but we ordered him for the
and Carly.
Yeah,
both
Carly,
of
that's
us
right.
have
Carly's
used it good at Watson.
Yes, I don't connect with her as much, but anyway, and we ordered a large quantity for the church, and it was well received, so much that I had parents asking me, "Are you going to buy it? Because if you're not, I'm going to buy it." And and I said, "Hold off." We're going to provide it. And then this year we've done the same thing. I've also been asked again, "Are you getting this?" Or, are you going to provide it? So it's been nice. And what we did was We also provided candles as well. Mary Elizabeth talked about the box that had candles in it too. But we, and not everybody purchased a box, but we also were able to provide candles, and we're doing that again this year. Just in-
Esther, I still have some in my garage if you need to buy any extras.
Oh, thank you. That's good. Thank you for
But
letting me.
I'd like to sell because
Yeah, okay. I've got a limited number so far. Okay, that's great. But I will tell you something she said in the beginning, Mary Elizabeth, you said some of the materials we find aren't necessarily appropriate. And one year, I have to confess, I ordered something, just previewed it over the internet. And when I got it, I had to throw it away. It was so bad, or I had to recycle. I just couldn't hand it out. And I was so embarrassed. And so I was so glad to see that we have something that's more appropriate to who we are as a church, but as a community too. And I just think what the children need to see. So for me, it's really important that the children get this appropriate theology. So thank you, Mary Elizabeth, for doing this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Others, questions, comments?
I think you'll see in the work a commitment that I've always had to providing kids. I mean, Esther said, she said that was theologically appropriate, and to providing kids something that is meaty enough for them to take something new away, but that doesn't, that gives it to them in a really palatable way, and that is building scaffolding so that they've come close to some ideas about persisting and preparing and, working in this world that are building scaffolding for when they come close to that idea again at youth camp, and when they come close to that idea again in their college ministry. And so that is a reason that I think it's really important to use the scripture, to use the lectionary, to do things that are really based in things that they're going to come to again and again, but that push a little bit on the precious, gentle Advent resources we sometimes give them.
Let me ask this question, and it may not be appropriate, but is the curriculum such that it could be used in worship? You know how churches do bags with material for children during worship to work on or whatever. Is this material something that you could use like that, or is it completely separate?
Yeah, I think so, because the artwork with all of those questions, I think is something that kids can, I mean, the littlest kids wouldn't be able to process the questions. I think, we haven't provided that this year, and we could do it in the future, but if you wanted to print them smaller, because if you get them digital, you can print them any size you want, to put them in art bags, you could sit with the picture for 10 minutes and write questions about, like, how many of these things do you see? How many trees do you see? To put it in a bag for really little children in worship. I think that would be pretty easy. And now Carly has done that, as I said, for the Advent calendar. So the Advent calendar, we have a big list of questions about how many roosters you can find.
I like that as well. Yeah. And then the second part of that was, is there a way to take this material and perhaps introduce it at a hanging of the green and end it on Epiphany or something? Is there a way to use it as a resource for those events, like from hanging of the green to Epiphany, or however that plays out at your church?
Yeah, you're the second person that's asked if I went all the way to Epiphany, and I think next year maybe we'll include an Epiphany resource with it. I do, Esther. I think Watt Street last year used it as they used it in worship every week, right?
My memory doesn't serve me correct. We may have.
Yeah, because Kelly was always emailing me on Saturday night trying to get like a better version of the picture.
Yes. We did.
And I was like trying to send
that
it.
Rings a bell. Thank you. Yes, we did. Yeah. So the bulletin and then the words.
So because they had given it to all families, they're going to give it to all the families this weekend. So I have to get this print ready and fixed and to them. They had given it to all the families, and then they were using that litany in the service that was recorded every week. And so, yes, because it's cued to the lectionary, it's easy to pull any part of it, the prayer, the scripture, the memory verse, the litany, to use in the service on Sunday or online or both if you're doing something that's hybrid. And it would be really appropriate to give out the calendars at the hanging of the greens and say, look, we're already, if you do hanging of the greens Thanksgiving weekend, then look, you'll start this on Monday. Or if you do it the next weekend because it's Thanksgiving, like, look, we're already 5 days in, let's put 5 stars on. And now you can do this every day and we'll come back together and we'll, it would be really easy to use in that way.
And we had families without children that did it. So it's not,
Oh yeah.
it was given to everybody.
And that's,
that wanted it, everybody that wanted it.
And that's part of that's part of my value of what I value about these kind of resources, is doing it in a way that is totally, the adults feel like they're getting something nourishing out of it and that is appropriate for children. Now I did, I had one person that bought it last year that complained and wanted her money back because she said it wasn't like enough of a like social justice devotional. And I was like, yeah, that's not what it is. Correct. I did not write like adult devotionals. But I think that adults who engage with it for what it is find that it's really meaty.
So let me ask this question. One of my favorite resources is To Dance with God. And it's a celebration of all holidays or religious holidays and how we can use those in church. And their statement at the beginning, and I always like this, but you really spoke to me when you said Advent is, if I heard correctly, it's not just about Mary being pregnant. It's not just about baby Jesus. There's so much more, which I agree. But this woman, Gertrude Nelson, that wrote that book, To Dance with God, her synopsis of Advent is the church is pregnant and we wait. So how is that a statement that we could take and amplify to really make more theologically sound with what you're saying about Advent, that it's more than that baby? Is that making sense?
I mean, I think that I have mixed feelings. Will Gaffney, who I referenced a little bit ago, her Advent selections for year W are, every single one of them is an annunciation. Every single one of them is a woman, or it was also Abraham and Sarah, where she actually doesn't do the talking, but every one of them is an annunciation about a pregnancy. And part of me was like, yeah, like I appreciate this living into this language and embracing it. And part of me thought, oh, Will, because there's so many people for whom fertility grief prohibits engaging with Advent or Christmas when the theme is something about the church being pregnant or any kind of thing that has to do with pregnancy. And so I do, when asked, always guard against making it about pregnancy at all. Now, of course, there's that picture of Elizabeth and Mary. Like that is a part of the story, and that's a part of that proclaiming. And for that week, they're proclaiming this new thing. But I think that the themes that we have articulated for these 4 weeks give us something else to talk about, something else that is about persisting and preparing, that can be relevant to someone who understands about carrying a baby, but also is about the work that we're doing for Black Lives Matter and for LGBTQ inclusion and for working. all of the things that your church community might be working on in your community, you can make a tie-in with the habitat work that you're doing, with the work that you're doing with your homeless shelter, with the work that you're doing with people who are unhoused, or with schools that don't have the resources they need. And so it gives you these strong hooks, these ideas about who we are as a people who follow the risen Lord. But you have some space to make it what it needs to be in your community.
I like that. Strong hooks. Yeah, I can grab a hold of that. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. What other questions do you have of Mary Elizabeth, or what are you doing? How did you use Esther? I so appreciate you giving word to that, how you use this curriculum. Has anybody else used it, or what have you used that you might be able to supplement with this curriculum? Or what does Advent look like for you? What are you doing for Advent?
Esther
turning off her heater.
Also, I'm going to share this book. It's called Look. It's by Laura Allery, I think. And she's got other things on the seasons of the year. And this particular one is a child's guide to Advent and Christmas.
Nice.
And it's a little bit for older children, but I think preschoolers, could engage in it too. But it does talk about the season of Advent, but it's not a, it's not the Advent calendar or anything like that. It's more the story of different things that happen along the way, and then how it applies to you and stuff. So this is I shared this with Christy earlier last week, I think, and or maybe this week. But anyway, this is just another resource as well that I have that I appreciate. And yeah.
I love those. And like I mentioned, To Dance with God, that's a book that actually has recipes in it. I mean, it really looks at the whole, and I will send you, Esther, if you will just even text me the name of that and the author, I will put all this together and email to you. But the To Dance with God, and like I say, it goes through different holidays, but it will have recipes for sugar cookies and how you can use that as in an activity to build community and that kind of thing. So I really like when we can have something like Advent. And this is coming from someone, I did not know that word growing up. It was Christmas Eve and Christmas. That's it. We did not talk about Advent. We did not celebrate Advent in the South, in where I grew up in the South. And so this has been very exciting for me to, as an adult, really embrace this part of the holiday of worship, of the sacred space that is Advent. Yeah. So I love learning these new things about how we can incorporate family and congregation in these.
Well, what's nice is reinforcing Advent at home. I mean, they see it in church and you're there, but to reinforce it with Mary Elizabeth's materials at home is, I think will have a longer lasting effect than just seeing it in church. So I just really appreciate that. And encouraging your families to make their own Advent wreaths.
I was going to say, if you're in a space where you're making an Advent, where you're having an Advent wreath making activity, it's a perfect time to give these out and say, look, every single Sunday you can start a new card and a new prayer.
And this really is something to use during the pandemic. I mean, this is something you can do in your homes, and it does make us more active participants in worship on our own. But the resource provided,
it's good for people if they are staying home or not coming to worship, they can engage with what is happening in worship.
Well, and the idea that the family is where faith happens, it's through your family that you really, when it's encouraged at home, I think it's just powerful.
Esther, tell me the name of that book, and I'm writing it down right now. What's the name of it?
I'll send it to you. It's called Look.
Okay.
It's just called Look, and it's a child's guide to Advent and Christmas. And it's not but it's an additional resource.
Yeah.
I don't want it to, if you had to choose, I'd choose Mary Elizabeth, but I do like this one.
Well, and
as
I
well.
will put all this information in the BWIM NC resource page, which you can just go to on Facebook if you have not joined that. And then we click and let you in that, but we list all these resources there. In fact, I think I've already put the curriculum, Mary Elizabeth, in there, in that resource
great.
area. And,
Great.
but then I can put these other books too, and then put it on our social feed and in our e-news next week. And, that can be helpful for people, because people really are looking for things that are good, good material curriculum. Yeah.
And we know that there's shipping delays all around. And so I can get them printed really quickly. I can get them printed in like a 24 or 48 hour turnaround. And I can ship them to you. If you're nearby, I can arrange to get them to you or to meet you somewhere. Shipping 50 across the state is actually going to be pretty expensive for you. And I'd be happy to drive to Burlington to meet. I mean, we can figure something out. If you know that you want to order some, it would be great if you did it like today or tomorrow, because I'm placing because I just canceled my first order to fix that typo and I'm going to put it back in. And I had ordered just over 200 and there's a price break there. And so if like next week I just order 10, I'm going to pay a lot more than if I put it in with this order. So it's fine. Like you order them anytime. I am placing an order as soon as I correct the thing on Canva, and yours is welcome to go in with it.
Can you go over the price list with us?
Yeah, I need to, the answer is yes. And let me go to the place where I have that, because I would hate to tell you wrong. The easiest place, I have it on an Etsy page, but I want to go find it in a place that's easier for me to pick up the information for you. And I think it will take me about 30 seconds to get there. So I'm in the library at my church, and the internet likes to slow down right when I need it.
Oh, of course.
Katie, talk about something else for a second while I look it up.
Okay. Well, as I said, because we're about to wrap up our session here, and I so appreciate Mary Elizabeth leading us.
If you'll share can I share again?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll show you what's here.
Yeah. But we will add these resources in social media feed, our e-news, and on oh, good.
This was an order form we were sharing before we had our Etsy page ready. And you can still order on here, but then I need to send you the Etsy link, because that's a way. And if I need to ship it, I actually prefer that you don't use the Etsy if I don't need to ship it, because they take money from me. So if I'm going to meet you in Durham, like Esther, thank you for not using Etsy. You can just fill out this form. And so it tells you, so I had a pre-order sale. It was $12 a packet. That was so that I could try and get up to the 200 I needed to order first. Right now, if you're ordering one for your family, it's $15 a packet, but we do bulk orders. And it looks to me like I didn't print my bulk order prices, that I said, you need to come and talk to me. So these digital packets are $5 for one print, $200 to print 75, $400 to print an unlimited number, and that will come with the digital permissions. If you are ordering like 100 packets, then I can bring your price down closer to like $10 a packet, which is not bad for a book of, you're going to get the advent calendar and the pages. I may be able to get it a little bit lower than that, depending on how many you order. If you're ordering over 200, I can get it down a little bit lower than that. And that is solely based on what they're charging us at the printer. So they're $15 a packet. If someone just orders one, just has one shipped to their house. If you're going to order it for your church, I'm going to work with you. I would like to work with you. I'd like to get it in a place that works for your church and for us. And it'll be $10 to $12 a packet, depending on the number that you order.
Okay. This is helpful to see this. That helps me.
I mean, if you were going to order 500, we could get it even lower, but none of you have churches that big.
So you're going to send me this link as well, and I can supply that to everyone that's on this call.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I'll put it in our social media feed and our resource page and in our e-news.
And so Etsy, we use if we're going to ship it because they produce the label. But if I'm going to just bring it to you, or you want to meet me, or you're around, then you can just order directly from this Google form.
Great. Any other questions, comments, information? Thank y'all for being here today.
Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
This is exciting, and it's so good to get to be educated to good resources that we can use in our churches and congregations, and of course with children. And I'm thinking about doing something for my nieces and nephews and their children, so that each one of them might have something to do.
Yeah, we do. The other place that we sold a lot last year was when someone would buy it for the cousins all over the country, and a whole family would be using it together.
That's what I think I'm going to do.
Special.
So I'll look at that, but I will get back with you on that. Okay. So thank you all for being here. Good to see everyone.
If you're on Facebook, share it, because it helps the metrics. Like it just stupid Facebook.
Yes. Share it.
How people see it.
Share it on social media. Do. Thank you for being here. And the name of the curriculum is Advent at Home by Mary Elizabeth Hachney and Carly
Doggard.
Okay. And so we thank y'all for being inspired to write this, so that we have this opportunity at this resource. So,
I'm going to type my email address in right quickly.
Okay.
And y'all can just email me if you have any questions. Here's my phone number too.
Okay. M.E. Hachney with an E at gmail.com.
Yep.
M.E. Hachney at gmail.com. And then 919-452-8019.
Yep.
919-452-8019. Okay. Friends, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This has been so good. Thank you so much.
See y'all later.